In China right now, you can walk into a Toyota dealership and drive away with an electric crossover producing 268 horsepower, capable of traveling 391 miles on a single charge for less than $18,000. In the United States, the closest thing Toyota sells is slower, has over 100 miles less range, and costs more than double that price. Same brand, same badge on the hood, wildly different car. And the reason for that gap comes down to a single word most Toyota executives spent years reluctant to say out loud in public: BYD. This is the real story of how Toyota, the company that once defined itself by decades of manufacturing self-reliance, ended up building some of its most important electric vehicles using technology from the very company that dethroned it as the world's best-selling automaker. It's not a sudden, overnight deal. It's the story of a partnership that's been quietly building for 7 years and is only now reaching the moment where its consequences are impossible to ignore. The relationship between Toyota and BYD didn't start in 2026. It started back in July 2019 when the two companies, one the undisputed king of hybrid engineering, the other a rapidly rising Chinese battery and EV maker, signed an agreement to jointly develop battery electric vehicles for the Chinese market. At the time, it was a genuinely unusual move. Toyota had spent decades building its reputation on manufacturing independence, designing and engineering its own core vehicle technology in-house, rather than relying heavily on outside partners for something as fundamental as the powertrain. BYD, meanwhile, had started life in 1995 as a battery manufacturer before expanding into vehicles, and by 2008 had become the first company in the world to mass-produce plug-in hybrid electric vehicles. By November 2019, the two companies had formalized the relationship further, establishing a jointly owned research and development company called BYD Toyota EV Technology, split 50-50 between the two firms, with Toyota's Hirohisa Kishi serving as chairman and BYD's Zhao Bingen as CEO. Engineers from both companies began working together under one roof, a level OF direct technical collaboration between two companies that, on paper, were still supposed to be competing head-on for the same customers. The real turning point in this relationship, according to Toyota's own internal account, wasn't a boardroom decision. It was a moment of genuine culture shock. Takeru Kato, president of Toyota's BEV factory division, later described in an interview with Toyota's own internal publication just how disorienting the collaboration turned out to be. While working with BYD's engineers on what would become the BZ3 sedan, built on Toyota's existing e-TNGA platform but powered by BYD's Blade battery technology, the two teams needed to lower the vehicle's overall height by roughly 25 millimeters, an adjustment that required entirely redesigning the underbody of the car. In Toyota's traditional development process, Kato said, a change of that magnitude, coming 5 months into the project, would have brought the entire development to a standstill. At BYD, the team simply adapted and kept moving, treating the modification as a normal part of iterative development rather than a crisis. That single episode became, by Kato's own account, a genuine wake-up call about just how differently Chinese EV manufacturers were approaching speed and flexibility compared to Toyota's traditionally rigid, deliberate engineering culture. The specific piece of technology at the center of this partnership is BYD's Blade battery, a lithium iron phosphate, or LFP, battery design that BYD engineered specifically to address one of the EV industry's most persistent anxieties: safety. Traditional battery designs bundle individual cells into modules, then combine multiple modules into a larger pack. BYD's Blade battery instead arranges cells in long, thin, blade-like strips packed directly into the battery pack structure, a design that improves both space efficiency and structural integrity. LFP chemistry itself is inherently more thermally stable than the nickel-based chemistries used in many competing batteries, making it significantly more resistant to the kind of thermal runaway that can cause battery fires. For Toyota, a company whose global brand identity is built almost entirely around reliability and safety, adopting a battery technology that could pass its own famously rigorous internal safety testing wasn't a minor detail. It was close to a prerequisite for using outside battery technology at all. That the Blade battery met that bar became a significant factor in how far this partnership was allowed to expand. The BZ3 sedan, launched using BYD's battery technology within Toyota's own platform, became the proof of concept. It wasn't a one-off experiment. It became the template for further collaboration. That expanded relationship has since produced the Toyota BZ5, a China-exclusive electric crossover that represents, in a very concrete sense, the most advanced product of this partnership to date. The BZ5 delivers 268 horsepower and up to 391 miles of range, priced under $18,000 in the Chinese market. Numbers that would be genuinely disruptive in almost any market on Earth, let alone one as price-sensitive and competitive as China's EV sector has become. For comparison, Toyota's most powerful 2026 BZ variant sold in the United States, the all-wheel drive configuration with 338 horsepower, tops out at just 278 miles of range and starts at $36,350. That's roughly double the price of the BZ5 for a car with meaningfully less range. It's not just a Toyota-specific gap either. The Subaru Solterra, essentially a badge-engineered twin of Toyota's American BZ4X, starts at $44,995. The Hyundai Ioniq 5 lists at $43,995. The Tesla Model Y sits at $44,990. Even the most affordable EVs sold in the US, the Nissan Leaf at $29,280 and the Chevrolet Equinox EV at $34,995, cost considerably more than the BZ5, while offering less range and less power. Here's the uncomfortable part of this story, and the part that turns it from a simple, cool foreign EV curiosity into something with real, direct consequences for consumers. The core reason Americans can't buy the BZ5 or anything close to its pricing has almost nothing to do with the car's engineering, and almost everything to do with trade policy. Significant tariffs on Chinese-made vehicles and Chinese-sourced EV components have made it commercially unworkable for automakers to import vehicles built around Chinese battery technology into the US market at anything resembling their true production cost. That policy reality exists specifically because American lawmakers have expressed sustained concern about Chinese EVs and Chinese battery supply chains gaining a dominant foothold in the US, national security considerations, domestic manufacturing protection, and broader US-China trade tensions. The BZ5 isn't an isolated example of this pricing gap either. BYD's own Dolphin model starts around $13,000 in China. The BYD Seagull comes in closer to $10,000. Geely's Geometry E retails for under $15,000. None of these vehicles are available to American consumers at anything close to those prices, not because the technology doesn't exist or doesn't work, but because the trade barrier is designed to protect the American. Auto industry from Chinese competition also, as an unavoidable side effect, keep American consumers locked out of some of the most aggressively priced EVs on the planet. The BYD partnership, significant as it's become, is only one piece of a much broader battery strategy Toyota has been building simultaneously across multiple fronts, worth understanding to see where this relationship actually fits within Toyota's overall EV plan. Toyota has also partnered extensively with Panasonic, including joint ventures producing battery packs, not just for Toyota's own vehicles, but for other partner brands as well, alongside deeper research into next-generation solid-state battery technology. In October 2023, Toyota announced a partnership with Idemitsu Kosan specifically focused on mass-producing solid electrolytes for solid-state batteries, and followed that in October 2025 with a collaboration with Sumitomo Metal Mining aimed at developing more durable cathode materials suited specifically to that same solid-state battery technology. Toyota has additionally struck a separate wide-ranging partnership with CATL, the Chinese battery giant that also supplies BYD's rival battery technology, covering everything from new battery development to supply security and battery recycling. Layered on top of all of this, Toyota signed a comprehensive carbon neutrality partnership with the Shanghai municipal government in February 2025 and established a new wholly owned EV and battery development company, Lexus, Shanghai, New Energy, specifically to deepen its manufacturing presence in China. The picture that emerges from all of this isn't a company making a single dramatic bet on BYD specifically. It's a company deliberately spreading its battery strategy across multiple Chinese and Japanese partners simultaneously, hedging against the risk of depending too heavily on any single supplier, while buying itself time to bring its own fully in-house solid-state battery technology to mass production, which Toyota currently targets for 2027 to 2028. That phrase, buying time, is genuinely the most accurate way to characterize what the BYD partnership represents strategically, rather than treating it as either a surrender or permanent merger of the two companies' technology roadmaps. Toyota's own long-term battery ambitions remain centered on solid-state technology. A next-generation battery chemistry, the company believes, offers a genuine leap in energy density, charging speed, and safety compared to the lithium-ion and LFP batteries currently on the market, including BYD's own Blade battery. Toyota's public roadmap has pointed toward EVs offering driving ranges approaching 900 miles once solid-state technology reaches mass production, sometime after 2028. Until that technology is ready, though, Toyota faces a genuine competitive problem. Chinese EV makers, BYD chief among them, have already mastered exactly the kind of low-cost, high-volume LFP battery production Toyota doesn't yet have in-house at competitive scale. Rather than spend years an enormous capital trying to catch up to that specific manufacturing capability from scratch, Toyota's BYD partnership lets it feel genuinely competitive. Reasonably priced electric vehicles in the world's largest EV market right now, using technology BYD has already perfected, while Toyota's own. Engineers focus their independent research specifically on leapfrogging the entire current generation of battery technology altogether. Step back from Toyota specifically, and this partnership says something significant about the entire structure of the modern global auto industry. A shift worth taking seriously beyond just one company's strategy. For most of the 20th and early 21st centuries, the world's largest automakers competed primarily on manufacturing scale, brand reputation, and dealer network reach, largely building their own core technology in-house. What Toyota's relationship with BYD demonstrates is a genuinely different competitive reality taking shape in the EV era. Battery technology and manufacturing efficiency have become so specialized, and Chinese battery makers have advanced so quickly that even the world's largest and most historically self-reliant automaker has concluded it's more competitive to partner directly with a Chinese rival than to attempt building equivalent capability entirely on its own on a competitive timeline. That's a meaningful signal for the rest of the global auto industry to absorb. If Toyota, a company that built its entire reputation on manufacturing independence, has concluded this kind of partnership is the pragmatic path forward, other legacy automakers watching from the sidelines are very likely drawing the same conclusion about their own EV strategies. So, did Toyota's BYD deal really shake the entire EV industry in some sudden singular moment? Not in the way that framing implies. This has been 7 years of gradual, deliberate partnership building, a 2019 agreement, a jointly staffed R&D company, a wake-up call sedan project, and now a genuinely disruptive crossover that most American consumers aren't even allowed to buy. What's real and what does matter is the destination this 7-year partnership has now reached. A Toyota-badged EV built substantially around Chinese battery technology, outperforming and underpricing nearly every EV available in the American market by a significant margin, sitting completely out of reach for US buyers, not because of any technical limitation, but because of trade policy built specifically to keep exactly this kind of vehicle out. That's the real shakeup here. Not a single dramatic announcement, but the slow, now unmistakable arrival of a moment where one of the most conservative, historically self-reliant automakers on Earth has concluded that keeping pace with the EV era means building its cars, in part, with the technology of the company that used to be its clearest rival. And the rest of the global auto industry is now watching to see who follows.